Guys, good morning, good evening, or good afternoon if you are that way inclined. Let's get stuck into another episode of the podcast. Super pumped to come here this morning and deliver some value to you guys. So if you are indeed coming in to watch this one live, you know what to do. Get down into the comments and let us know that you're here. And we're going to be kicking start this episode in 2 minutes, and nice and early Australian time. We're on the 6 a.m. To all of you crew in Brisbane, getting up at 5 a.m. to listen to the podcast, or Queensland, really well done to you. All our friends in the UK, I hope you're having a beautiful, beautiful time, and we are going to kick this off in 2 minutes. This is going to be a big episode, guys, so super excited. I'm going back to Canada today, and I actually booked a later flight just to make sure I could run this podcast. And I think it's a really, really important podcast. So would be interested in hearing your thoughts about this as we go along, guys. And of course, if you've got any comments, please throw them through. Can you believe we're on the last day of February already? Like, is it just me, or does the year seem to pass quicker the older you get? I don't know. I'm not feeling old, but it just feels like time goes past quicker. Or maybe it's a thing where when you just love what you do and you enjoy it, time passes quicker. I don't really know. I'm not really sure what the go is there, but yeah, it feels like the days are just like gone, and before I know it, it's the weekend, right? So we're going to kickstart this in 1 minute, team, so let us know you're in here. Good morning, Tezzy. I hope you're good. Look at this. You're starting to realize, guys, that I can't actually see who it is. But what's weird is that a few of you can still display. So I'll let you know, we've got an upcoming challenge actually happening with streaming. So Facebook's decided to make some changes, and I'm not really sure how it's going to work, but it's going to prevent us from being able to use Restream to stream across multiple groups. So we may need a bit of a workaround here. So it's going to provide some challenges sometime in April, but yeah, we'll just have to deal with that when it comes. Hello, Cara. Lovely to have you here. Cara still showing up here every morning. So good. Good morning, Amy. I love you, girlfriend. Looking forward to a chat tomorrow on the mastermind call. Good morning, Benny. Superman. I love that outfit, dude. Every year becomes a smaller fraction of your life, so it seems quicker. That's a good insight. Good morning, sir. And good morning, Tracy. I hope you're good. All right, guys, let me get a sip of water in, and we are ready to rock and roll here. Again, if you do have any comments or questions during the episode, then ask them. And if you do come in and watch this one on replay, guys, please hashtag replay. I think this is really going to help you just look at some thought patterns in your life. So without further ado, let's get stuck into the episode on the count of 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Welcome back to the Better Body Academy podcast. This is the podcast that you come to when you are sick of the dumb diets and unsustainable workout programs. Now, in today's episode, we're going to be talking about beliefs, okay? I think, personally, this may be one of the most important conversations we could ever have and you could ever have with yourself. And I'm going to give you the reasons why in a moment, and we're going to go really deep on this. And if you're part of our mastermind program, I'm going to really challenge you over the next month to think about how this applies to you. So I was thinking today, what actually stops a person from making massive change in their life? Like, I really hope you listen to this episode, guys, because it's easy to just get in the habit of passively consuming podcasts and reading books, but then not really doing anything as a consequence, which makes them a form of procrastination, actually. If there's one podcast episode that I'll just challenge you to act upon, it is this one here. Okay, what is it that stops a person from making massive change in their life? Well, you might say something like, well, they don't eat right, or they don't exercise properly, or they don't save enough money, or they don't invest time in their relationships. And we kind of focus on the individual actions, right? And you would be right. On the surface level, if you don't do the things, then things don't change. But I want to go a level deeper on this, and perhaps we can use kind of getting healthy as an example. So why doesn't a person eat well or exercise? They might say something like, well, I have no time, or they have no money. Absolutely, get that. So let me ask you a question. What if you could absolutely, like not 95%, like 100%, guarantee that if you spent the time or money that you didn't have, that you would 100% be guaranteed of a result? I reckon most people would find the time or money. So if that's the case, if you knew that 100%, if you got to work in 6 months, you'd see, for example, a 20 kilogram difference in your weight, for if that was a goal for you, would you do it? Like, I'm saying there's zero chance of you failing. If you just did it, would you do it? It's a really good question to answer, isn't it? And so ask yourself, if it was 100% guaranteed and you wouldn't do it, if the answer is no, that's cool. That's completely cool. That kind of gives the insight that maybe right now you're just not in enough pain with your situation that you feel like you have the push to actually do the work that needs to be done. In other words, the pain of doing the hard work that needs to be done still is more than the pain of staying the same. So you stay the same. And that's not a criticism. That just basically means at this point in time, you're not ready for change. And that's cool. So the second option is if the answer is yes, if I was 100% guaranteed that I would get the result if I just did the work, but still, even still, you feel like there's a deep block here, I'm going to suggest that perhaps it's a problem with your belief system that we need to overcome. And this is what I want to address in this episode. So when a person comes into our academy, I will guarantee you a result. Like, guarantee. I know that if you follow the plan, you will get the result. There's simply too much evidence available here to argue. And I tell a person before they start, if you come in and do our program, you watch the workshops, you do your check-ins, you attend the coaching calls, and you get zero benefit, I'll repay any of your membership fees back to you. The idea here is to give you faith that if you follow the program, you'll get some great results. That's the idea of doing that. But even still, some people just don't follow the program. Now, I don't think the reason that they don't follow the program is because they think they know better themselves. I don't think, like, egotistically, someone doesn't join a fitness program or a transformation program and think, you know what, I know better than the coach. I'm just going to do it my way. I don't think they do that. I think it's because they have a deep set of beliefs that they hold about themselves and the world more generally that keeps us stuck. I'm interested. There's like 20 people watching on live. Would you agree with that? Would you agree that when you've been in periods of your life where you haven't followed through, it's not because you think you know better, it's because you have some beliefs about, if I do this work, that doesn't actually mean that I'm going to get anything out of it, right? In fact, I got a comment on a post yesterday which triggered me to actually do this episode, which illustrated this point exactly. I put a text post up about change, and the gentleman wrote, I think it could be that most people are just comfortable and have accepted a belief that they are not worthy or deserved of being anything more than they are right now. Just going to say that again. I think it could be that some people have just got comfortable with the idea and accepted a belief that they're not worthy of anything more than they are right now. That type of a belief system is so fucking crippling and all-encompassing that it takes over your life. I'm absolutely convinced that what you believe in determines your life. And this is the reason why the family that you were born into heavily shapes your life. And you didn't have a choice in that. But whatever your family believed, you probably inherited that story. Would you agree? And so it's the reason why, if you are able to change and overhaul some of these deep-seated negative beliefs that you might have carried about yourself, can you imagine the impact that that would have on your kids? Just think for a second. If you feel in any way trapped by the belief system that you inherited, imagine that you went, oh, wow, fuck, I didn't realize how heavily that influenced my life. Imagine I then changed that belief system, passed that on to my kids. They inherited that belief system, and all of a sudden, their life took a completely different channel. Now, here's the big issue with beliefs. Most of our beliefs are subconscious. What that means is that most of our beliefs, they are below the level of our conscious awareness. The beliefs exist, but we don't necessarily know that they exist because no one's ever questioned us on what we believe in. We just kind of accept them to be true, and not even consciously. We've just always believed that because it's what we've grown up in. So, for example, if you had a belief system which was something along the lines of, look, I just feel like a failure. I'm not worthy of anything else. I'm not deserved of a partner who loves me. I'm not deserved of a life where I'm happy. I'll never be healthy. Like, if that was the general belief system you had, and I understand that that is the belief system for a lot of people, can that perhaps give some insight into why you're not following a nutrition plan or an exercise plan, for example? If these belief systems like I'm a failure, I'm not deserved, I'm unworthy, if those belief system exists, why would you go to the gym consistently? Why would you track your nutrition? Why would you try to practice meditation if at the end of the day, you don't ever truly believe that you'll be healthy or happy, or that you even deserve it? Does this make any sense, guys? Can you let me know in the comments if this makes sense? I'm trying to suggest that if you have a belief system that is, on the whole, not supportive of the actions that you're wanting to take, then it makes sense that even if you want to take the actions, you're not really going to follow through because you inherently don't believe that it's possible for you to make change. I am a fucking failure, so I don't deserve this. So why would you follow through? And because we believe these things to be true, we constantly look for evidence to support whatever we believe. There's a bias there, right? What's really interesting is in conversations between couples, and I do this all the time with Claudia, right? We might believe in two different things. We're talking about it, but we're not talking about it with an open mind of changing our opinion. She believes one thing, I believe a different thing, and all I'm looking to do in this conversation is find pieces of evidence to support what I already believe. I'm not sitting there going, so she believes this. I wonder if that's true. No, all I'm doing is looking for evidence to support what I already believe. So is it possible that in your life, you have this set of beliefs about the world and about you, and really, you're not open to the idea that that could be the opposite? So all we do is we just look for proof that, see, I told you I'm a failure. I just tried to do this thing and I couldn't do it. So we're looking for evidence to support whatever we already believe all the time. For example, you might say, I didn't go to the gym 17 times this week. See, I told myself, I knew I was a failure. Or I didn't track my nutrition this week. See, that's the proof that I'm a fuck up. I just can't do it. We're just always looking for evidence to prove it. Right. Does this discussion make sense? So if you're in Better Body Academy and you've done the Real Reasons document, where we asked you to get to the bottom of why you want to bring out change in your life. You've done that process. You've got a simple plan to follow here. You've got some accountability around you, both from coaches and community. But you're still just not doing it. It's very likely that you have a ton of self-limiting beliefs that are keeping you stuck. So if that's the case, clearly we need to work on the belief system. And if we've believed a certain way for a long period of time, then it's also going to take a period of time to uncondition those beliefs. But this is the first step. This podcast might be the first step for you. I didn't even know really what a belief was. A belief is a feeling of conviction about something. It's not a fact. It's not a fact. Okay, the earth is round. Obviously there's the flat earthers out there, but the earth is round. That's a fact. The earth is flat is a belief system. Sure, you can choose to believe in that, but it's not fact. The earth is round. You get it? So, how do you start to do something about changing these beliefs? Okay? How do we do something about changing these beliefs? All right. Well, first, and this is what the podcast is about, you've got to become consciously aware of what you believe, right? Because if I said that the vast majority of our beliefs, and I have plenty of them that I'm probably not aware of them, they're biases that exist in my mind, you can't fix something that you don't know exists. So first you've got to become aware of the things that you believe. And when you're looking at beliefs, there's two levels that you can look at them on. You can look at them on what are called global beliefs, what I believe about myself and the world generally, right? They're just global beliefs that impact many different areas of our life. And there are specific beliefs. What do I believe about specific things in my money or my relationships and my health? What do I believe there? So let's say you did this activity. You might do an inventory. You might just sort of think to yourself, well, what do I believe about myself? What are my global beliefs? What do I believe about myself? What do I believe about the world? And then you might ask, okay, what do I believe about specific things that I want to change? The next step is to get curious about where those beliefs come from and what evidence is holding them up and what would happen if you changed them. So for example, let's say that you had the belief that I'm not capable, really, like I'm in this program and I'm doing the thing, but I'm probably doing it more so for the community. I love being involved in something, but I'm not really ever going to change. I'm not capable of ever being, inverted commas, healthy. Let's say that was the belief system. Okay. Getting curious about this is part of the second step. Once you've got your inventory of belief, you then go, okay, in what ways is this like, you don't try to fix it instantly. You just ask yourself, what ways is this belief ridiculous? For example, I'm not capable of ever being healthy. Is that a fact? An objective fact? It's not an objective fact. It's a belief, like the flat earth. But because you believe it so much, it feels like a fact. It's got so much conviction behind it. But you might disempower that belief and say, well, how is that belief ridiculous? Next, who did I learn this belief from? And is this person someone I want to be like? Is it someone that I want to role model? So for example, if you believed that your family has a terrible genetic line of being overweight, and your mum and dad were overweight, or your mum or dad was overweight, would you, do you want to be like that? Do you want to be like them? And so you've got to question the validity of where maybe you inherited that belief from. You might also ask yourself, well, just get really curious, guys. What role did this belief play in my life? For example, it might have kept you safe in a way, right? You might have had someone in your family experience some sexual assault. And so you developed a belief system that getting into a relationship was a terribly bad thing because I'm an independent woman and I don't need no man to make me happy. That's not a ridiculous belief, but the belief served a purpose, right? Next question. What could be the pain associated with holding on to this belief? If I keep holding on to it, what happens if I keep holding on to it? And then finally, how could my life be different if I let go of that belief? And I'm not saying go into changing it straight away. I'm just get yourself curious about why you have this belief. And then the final step, you've got an inventory of your belief. You've got a sort of a process for getting curious about that belief. And then you want to say, okay, finally, how do I start overturning my beliefs? So what you'd do is you'd work backwards from the goals that you want in your life. You might, for example, want more money. And then you think to yourself, well, I have this really negative connotation that money is something that is greedy and gotten by people who don't care about other people. So you can see that might have protected you for a certain point in time, but it also limits you from having more of it. So then you decide, well, I want more of it. And so you work backwards from that. And you ask yourself questions like, okay, if I wanted more money, what types of things would I need to start believing in that help me to make more money? And if that was the case, you start writing out new versions of your belief systems, which are effectively the exact opposite of what you currently believe. Does this make sense, guys? So we've got 20 people watching on live. So it's hard work. And on that note, no doubt a lot of people sort of thinking to themselves, listening to this is, well, this sounds like hard work. Yeah, it is hard work, especially if you've never thought on that level before. Yep, you're right. Changing something that's defined all of your life when you're 50 years old, that's hard. That's real hard. But it's also one of the most fundamental things that you could ever do. And if you feel like change is really slow for you and you're struggling to move forward, and I've got one client in my mind here that's really screaming at me at the moment, and it's like, you need to look at your belief system. And you need to think about, let's take this idea. What if you changed the fundamental belief, the global belief that you are not worthy? If you changed that, I am not worthy, how would your life be different? Well, I'll tell you what, that might be hard work to change that, but fuck, it is worth changing because it's shaping everything in your entire existence. From happiness to freedom to relationships to health to money, the list goes on. So, to wind up this podcast, I'm going to add some practicality. I'm going to go through a list of specific beliefs, not global beliefs, specific beliefs about health. And I'm going to ask you to consider, how powerful is this belief to you? Okay? So, try to play along. We'll probably take 10 minutes here. The idea is to bring to your awareness so that you can ask yourself this question. Okay? Do I believe in that? Is that what I believe? Number 2, to what extent do I believe that? Number 3, how is this impacting me? Number 4, what would happen if I changed this belief over? So I'm going to give you 10 to 15 beliefs right now as statements, and I want you to consider whether this is something that is prominent in your life. Maybe write it down, okay? All or nothing thinking. I refer to myself as an all or nothing person. That's a belief. This makes me believe that any deviation from whatever plan is a failure. But what that tends to do is lead to me abandoning things quite quickly. So the question is, do you view yourself as an all or nothing person? Just ask yourself, do you? Secondly, to what extent? 3, how is that impacting you? 4, how would it help you to change that? How would it help you if you weren't an all or nothing person? Next one, quick fix mentality. I need rapid results or shortcuts in order for me to make this even possible to change. Okay? To what extent do you believe that? That you need quick results and shortcuts? To what extent do you believe that? How is that impacting your results now? And how would it impact you to believe something different? How would it benefit you to believe something different? So we've got, I'm an all or nothing person. I need rapid results mentality. Next up, I rely solely on willpower and motivation to act. Some days I wonder why I just feel so unmotivated. It's like it's just so hard for me to get up. And on these days, I don't do anything. How prominent is that for you? How prominent is that for you? To what extent? How is that hampering you? Always being reliant on motivation, being motivated. What if you weren't so reliant on motivation and instead you had created a small set of habits which didn't rely on you being motivated to execute? Next up, comparison to others. If I see a person losing weight quicker than me, it means that I'm doing something wrong. I feel like I spend a lot of time looking at other people. How important is that for you? What impact does it have for you? What negative way is that keeping you stuck? What would happen if you weren't comparing to everyone else? What would happen? What would happen if you let go of that belief system? Let's keep going. Focusing on the scale as the main metric. In fact, the scale defines me. When I see a 200-gram decrease on the scale, I feel validated. If I see no change, I feel like giving up. How important is that for you? How relevant? What role does it play? What would happen if you didn't believe that? Weight loss is the goal. It's really all I care about. Weight loss is the goal. I just want to get to my goal weight. How is that limiting you? What are you missing by not thinking about what is the larger benefit of the weight loss? How is that impacting you just focusing on the weight? What would happen if you flipped that and it wasn't all about the weight and you started to believe that weight loss is the side benefit, not the goal? The goal is, I want to change the way I live my life. That's a whole different idea. Let's keep going. Food as a reward or a punishment. The belief system is, I have to earn my food. I have to earn my food. I have to be a good boy or good girl to earn my food, earn my ice cream. I have a love-hate relationship with food and exercise because if I haven't been good and I haven't done my exercise, I don't get to have the other one. How is that impacting you? Let's keep going. Blaming genetics. I know my coach has told me to not think about genetics, but honestly, I just got a bad hand. I don't care what anyone else says. I just got a bad hand. I've got a bad hand. Right? My genetics are not great. My family genetics are not great. Change is always going to be harder for me. How would that serve you? Well, it would stop you from pushing yourself to a point of burnout, right? Because if you try too hard, you keep yourself safe, right? You risk change. So how is that serving you? To blame your genetics. But what would happen if you didn't blame your genetics? It's not that genetics are irrelevant. I'm just saying, what would happen if you stopped believing that I carry weight because my family line is different? What would happen? We're getting to the end, guys. Thinking that weight loss will solve all problems. My belief is that I will be happy when I have lost the weight or achieve a number. Okay? How is that restricting you? What would happen if you didn't believe that? What would happen if you could say to yourself, I can be happy independent of what's happening to my body? Would that free you from the grinding pursuit of, the scales are just, and then your happiness is fucked as a result of it? Something's broken in me. I get all this, Jace. I get it. Totally get it. It's all in the mind. I get it. But something's broken in me. There's definitely something that is beyond repair. I am irreparable in that aspect. Okay? So how is that belief? It's not a fact. There's no objective fact there. It's a strong conviction that you have. Is it true? Well, it seems to be fact because you believe it so strongly. But is there actually something broken in you? As in, have you got a fractured leg? Or is the mind fractured in a way, and the more we believe that it's unfixable, then we can't change it? Not prioritizing self-care. The belief system is that self-care is for softies, right? Stress management, sleep, relaxation, that's what weak people do. Okay? And I get that mindset. So how is that serving you? Keeps you motivated, keeps you working? Will it drag you closer to burnout quickly? Is there a benefit to changing the idea that self-care is self-respect? Self-care is not getting a massage. Self-care is getting some sleep. 2 more. No pain, no gain. If I am not grinding myself to the bone, if I am not a pulp by the end of this session, I'm not growing. It's not even worth doing. I believe that extreme sacrifice is the only way results are going to happen for me. Okay? If you have that belief system, that might be keeping you motivated in the short term. Are you going to operate by that belief system for the next 50 years? What are you going to do when you're 80 years old? No pain, no gain. Finally, the self-made illusion. The self-made illusion. It is weak to ask for help. It's just weak. I can do this myself. I've done it before. I can do it again. So why would I ask for help? I just need to, inverted commas, man up, stop being a pussy and try harder. Okay, if that's your belief system, does that give you a level of temporary motivation? Does it get you out of bed? Cool. How is it hampering you? How is struggling every day in the mud, trying to solve it yourself, actually leading to you sinking deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper? And what would happen if you started to invite? Interesting, Jim Norval has just joined, and I think that Jim's a classic example of this. Jim has leveraged the support around him. He's a military man. I'm my own man, I can fucking do this guy, which is great and has served him. But not as well as posting every day, making friends with the guys in our community, going out with the boys in our community, becoming vulnerable. It's helped him on multiple aspects of his life. What about you? And so, guys, I'm going to leave the podcast here. The point of this podcast really is to shed the light to, if you just feel like what you're doing is not working, well, get curious about that. Why is it not working? Is it because ultimately there's a level of self-sabotage going on in your mind, which is, I'm going to do the work, but at the end of the day, I just don't really think that it's going to pay off because I have these fundamental beliefs about myself that effectively shape my life. And if that's the case, then I'm just going to do this thing for a while, whether it be in BBA or out. I'm just going to do this thing for a while. I'm going to tell people I'm going to track. I'm going to set my intentions on a Monday. I'm just going to do things and just hope. But really, I don't know. I don't really think any is going to make a difference. Well, if that's the operating frame, I would suggest that really taking time, perhaps rest of the week, the weekend, to sit down and like shine a light on what you think and write them out on a piece of paper and go, well, that makes sense. And what you can do is, for those of you that are starting to see great progress, what you might do is go, well, what has changed about what I believe in over the last year? And I'm thinking about all the people that are listening to this podcast, and I'm seeing them in the comments here. Guys like Jim, guys like Terry and Nick, people that have really understood, undergone monumental change. What do you think's changed about them? Well, they've changed what they're doing. Why did they change what they're doing? Because they started to change the belief of what's actually possible in their life. How did that start? Well, it started by getting curious in a way that, okay, well, I've seen lots of people in this group doing it, so if they can do it, why can't I do it? That's the way you leverage your network. Instead of comparing, you ask yourself the question, hang on, if they can do it, I can do it. And then that starts to shift your belief system, right? And when you start to shift your belief system, you start to conceive new ideas about what's possible in your life for yourself. And when new ideas start to come in, thought impulses, wow, you become all of a sudden in control of your life again. This gets me so excited talking about this stuff because I think about my own life and what I've done over the last 5 years or whatever. And realistically, those things happened because I changed my belief. I believed that around running a marathon that I can't run a marathon. I don't know what to do. I'm a gym guy. That's a belief system, right? I'm not a runner. I haven't run more than 10 Ks in my life. How am I going to do? And then I was like, wait a second. If Mike can do it, if John Timmons can do it, why can't I do it? Just factually, why can't I do it? I used to look at personal trainers running coaching programs with hundreds of clients, and I used to think, this must be bullshit, right? This must be some facade. There's no way that's happening. It was because I didn't believe in my head that it was possible. So I continued to look for proof as to why it's not possible. Until I got to know some people that were doing it, and I was like, so this is how you do it? Well, if you can do it, why can't I do it? This is in my head that I can't do this. I could go so deep on this, guys, and it excites me because I know a lot of you this is the part you're struggling with. You want to do the thing, you're clear on the goal, but at a very deep level, you're like, there's dissonance between what you want to do and what you believe is possible for you. That's not your fault. That's not your fault. You likely inherited that off your environment, your parents, your group. It's also the reason why we created this community, is because the most powerful change mechanism is for you to be involved with people who are thinking a whole different set of beliefs. And you want probably the most famous example that I can come up with, and I will finish on this note, is the 4-minute mile. When Roger Bannister broke this record back in the 50s, at that point in time, there was decades of people trying to do it. It was consigned to the impossible. A guy did it after multiple failures. And in that year, it was approximately, I think, 10 other people did it within a year. Now, it's just done frequently by kids in high school. It's up here. And if we can conceive something different, my gosh, our fucking world opens up. Guys, I'm going to love you and leave you there. This has been the Better Body Academy podcast, coming to you with another session today. Hopefully it's triggered some things in you and got you thinking. Remember, guys, information without implementation is just noise. Put some time into writing this stuff down. What are my beliefs? How could I overturn them? I'll see you guys in the next episode. Okay, team, that's it. So we held, very early morning Australian time, 20 people throughout this podcast, which I'm guessing that there's a lot of this that's hitting. Jackie says, great session. Den, I want my kids to strive towards being more than just average, showing them to work hard and think out of the box. I love this so much. For me, no, I believe I can do it, and I will. Still figuring out why I fail to execute on tasks. As you say, maybe this is the first step I'm not sure of. Yeah. So I think it's just on this point, I'm sorry, guys, I'm not sure who it is, but you've got to ask yourself first thing, it's easy to say, I believe it. And almost be like optimistic and positive about, I believe it, because you want to believe it. But there's a difference between like, I believe it and like a strong conviction that I actually I'm not just saying I believe it, I feel it in my bones. So as an example, I believe like drunk with my own brainwashing, perhaps, that this academy will change 1 million lives minimum. I don't know how at this point in time. And this indicates to me that the greatest amount of work, the thing that's stopping us from being able to do that, is the work that needs to be done in my mind to eloquently communicate to you why this is relevant to you, how you can get on board with helping. If like COVID, this is the analogy that I have, if like COVID, the idea of everyday men and women like us getting educated on general concepts around mindset, which can then be passed on to the kids, and then you're at a barbecue and you all of a sudden have a conversation with someone who's a friend that says, wow, you're looking really good. Like, what are you doing? And you're able to communicate the mission that I'm trying to create here. What happens? It grows. So I recognize that my limiting beliefs are around the ability to grow that idea, right? So it's not that any one person is immune to this. We have beliefs that what we think is achievable, and we set limitations upon ourselves. So we've got to constantly go back to like, how do I Like, how do I shift this belief up a level, right? And so when you say here, for me, no, I believe I can do it and I will, good. And absolutely. But there is a cap on that, right? So it becomes almost like that idea of you grow, the fish grows to the size of the bowl. Yeah? So as you expand the bowl, all of a sudden the fish can grow in size. First time in my life, I'm starting to believe I can't lose weight without healthy eating. I can't lose weight without healthy eating. I train like a psycho and losing weight, but too much work. Much easier to eat right. Thanks for getting my head in it. Yeah, 100%. Well, you can, but you can lose weight without doing anything around eating. But I'll tell you what, you're going to be working very, 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 very hard, certainly far harder than I train, because you're just never going to outwork your calories. I'm actually going to do a training on this. We did a conversation with our UK men yesterday, of which I simply showed them, here's the reason you can never outwork your diet. And when you start to understand that your metabolism, exercise is such a tiny portion of the daily calories you burn, even if you doubled the amount of exercise you did, the chances of you even making a dent in your calorie intake are nothing. And I will do a training on this. So guys, and Freddie says, wow. Yeah, Freddie, look, speaking transparently, brother, if you're still watching, no doubt, it's when you're born into a humble family and there's plenty of love and there's nothing here that's evil or negative. It's just that, like, I was born into a middle-class family and to a beautiful mum that come from the country and a dad that come from Malta and landed on a boat here when he was 5 years old and couldn't speak the language. And I only inherited what they believed in. And that got me to a certain level through hard work. But at a certain point in time, you have to do more than hard work. Like, just working another hour isn't always the answer. It's about changing your belief system so you can be more efficient, more effective, right? And so in your case, Freddie, that's exactly, I think, where you need to put this. And I think the cardio that you're doing, Freddie, is a great thing because it's not, for you, it's not about the cardio. It's about the fact that you're doing something that is resetting your belief around what's possible for you. Guys, if you're listening up, check this out. I had a conversation with Jen Lovegrove yesterday. I don't know if she's watching here, but I love you, Jen. And Jen told me that she's almost had this thing happen, which she's like, I wasn't sure if I wanted it to happen, but it happened, and so now I've got to do something about it, right? So Jen Lovegrove was in the ballot for, I think it's the Great North Run in Scotland, and a number of people in our community, as I understand, didn't get an invitation. So you go into a ballot, you get an invitation or you don't. And Jen got an invitation, and she was secretly hoping that she didn't get an invitation. She got an invitation. So now she's committed to a half marathon. And so the conversation that, Jen and I had yesterday was not around, okay, technically, here's how you need to train and here's how you, that's part of the conversation, what you need to do. But the first thing you need to do is look at the belief system that you have around it. Because if you've never run more than 2 kilometers since you were 16 years old, then to go and run a half marathon, that's like 21 kilometers. That's 10 times what you've done before. So kudos to Jen. She's got around 8 months to train. And the thing that, Jen, you need to work on the most is the belief that it's possible. And I think that this is, although I don't recommend cardio as a fat loss tool, I think that it is a great thing, Jen, because this is about you building a belief system that you can do it. That's what it's about. And the nice bit about it, Jen, is you have a very long timeline to build that belief system incrementally. Ooh, so good, Jen. So good. Well done, Jen. Plenty of time to train. Exactly. So, guys, any other comments? They tend to be a little bit delayed here when we come through Facebook, but anything else that we think is relevant to this discussion, or you want to ask something? I'll give you the takeaway, the homework. It is really that this is what we do. We do an inventory of our belief system. Like, you don't need to make it fancy. You just write it down on a piece of paper, right? And then you just get curious about, okay, where do those beliefs come from? How did I inherit them? What is true? What's just a strong belief? Do I respect the person that I got the beliefs from? How would my life be different if I didn't believe those things? Okay, cool. And then you ask yourself, right, so I'm going to reverse engineer this. I want to start overhauling these beliefs. What do I want to achieve? What belief system would I need to have to be able to achieve the things that I'm wanting to do in my life? What things do I need to look at? And then we start to condition in those new ways of thinking. But the first step is to become aware of them. Awesome session, makes sense 100%. Time to get thinking deeper. Just with any of these podcasts, guys, as a kind of a coaching tip, it's not just one thing. Like, that's another mindset, isn't it? It's like, if I just do this one thing, everything will change. It doesn't. My experience personally is that's just not how it is. It's a collection of things that we kind of think of it like a tool belt, right? As we get more adept at how important, get more conscious about how important the mindset component of it is, we just get these little tools or concepts or frameworks that we stick into our tool belt. And what that does is eventually gives us the ability to kind of look at our lives from a more 3D perspective and then create change and, evaluate that change and see what impact it has and then make some more changes. And we've got to play a long game to be able to do that. Okay, team. Have a beautiful, beautiful afternoon, evening, or morning, and I'll be seeing you from cold Canada next time. Peace out. Chat soon.